you're the most connected ever because you have access to
Yeah,
everybody around the world, but then
yeah.
you lack actual intimate connection with people. Oh,
What's up, bro?
what's going on, man? My bad. I've been just trying to like request, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't really know. I was like looking for the button. I don't know where the request was.
Bro, it's okay. It's okay, man. Bro, so where you at right now? You in your living room? You in? Where you at right now?
I'm in my bedroom in LA. Yeah, it's like my bedroom.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. Even though I haven't seen you, it's good to know that you're here, back in
Yeah,
Cali.
back in America.
Yeah, back in America, man.
It's a lot warmer here. It's way warmer. I like it.
I know,
Thank
but
you.
you guys had snow when you were out there, huh?
Yeah, it was freezing. Now it's warm. I think it's starting to warm up in Canada now, but like for a bit, it was like cold, cold.
Yeah.
But
And your parents are still back there.
yeah, parents, and then Kizzy's back there too. She just got back from South Africa, so it's like
Yeah, back from YWAM.
yeah, from YWAM, yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
and
kind
who
of
and the little baby's name? What's the little baby's name?
Zach, man.
Zach,
Got
man.
it. Yeah, little Zach, man. He's adorable. He's like about to be 1 year old now. I think he's like like a week or so he's gonna be one.
That is crazy. He's
Yeah.
growing so fast.
I know he's going mad fast. He looks adorable. He kind of looks like me as a baby. My mom was showing me pictures, and like I don't know, it's kind of crazy
You
how.
guys all have pretty strong traits, huh?
Yeah. Unfortunately for him, he might look like me.
No, bro. Bro, he'll get that epic mane, bro.
Yeah, it's gotta get the hair going on. He's bald right now.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank y'all for tuning in. I'd love to know where you're from. Just go ahead and post where you guys are from. My name is Brian. This is obviously Christian. You guys know Christian. And man, Christian, what have we been doing on these lives? I've been asking my wife because we've been able to interview some pretty incredible people. My wife just jumped on.
Hey.
She said, love you, Christian. Your sister's actually going to be over here, I think, right now.
Yeah, I just saw her literally before I got on the live. She came by. Me and Brandon both cleared out both like 2 stores of energy drinks. So I don't know, he bought like a bunch of energy drinks and he gave me one, and then I bought a bunch earlier today, so we're just trading. But yeah, I saw her repost.
Yeah, I think she's coming over right now just to hang with the wife and stuff. So
Snap.
yeah. But yeah, man, I asked my wife just to like give me some questions. I feel like she's really good at asking really detailed questions. And as we're going, guys, again, just love to know where y'all are from. But a couple of the questions that she wrote here, bro, I love just to maybe jump right in. First question I have is, how did you get started in doing what you do as an influencer, man? How old were you? What was your first social media platform, I would say, and then how old were you?
Yeah, I was really young. I started out computer like programming or hacking, and I was getting in a bunch of trouble for that. I was like a computer nerd. And then I started out on YouTube creating content for like some of the hacking stuff I was doing. And one day I just did like one video talking to the camera as like a way to express myself, because I didn't have like crazy social anxiety, so I couldn't really talk to people. So I just used the camera as like a way to talk. But there's no like, back then I think I was like 11, and there was no real big like influencers back then. Like YouTube was first starting up, and there was no like, it definitely isn't what it was now. But yeah, just I kind of used it as just a way to express myself, and then yeah, kind of crazy what it became after.
And your first platform, what was it like? What was it back then that you used?
YouTube was the first one. So like YouTube came out, and then there was like some other one that was kind of like Instagram, but it died off. I forgot what it was called, but it was like a big one, kind of similar to Instagram, but it wasn't on the phone. It was on the computer.
Oh, dang.
And I forgot what that one was called. That one was big. And then
did you have a MySpace?
I had MySpace for a little bit, but like I don't know. I don't remember. I like just hit the wave. I feel like right after MySpace was like starting to kind of like fade, and then like YouTube was starting to like pop off.
Yeah. And at what age were you when you kind of felt like, man, this is actually growing into something? Like, this isn't just like I'm just jumping on hacking a computer. Like, this is actually becoming, I'm actually getting known and I'm getting a voice.
I feel like the weird part for me, like, because at first it was just like numbers. You just saw like a certain amount of views or whatever. but I didn't actually think that was people for some reason. Like my brain didn't actually think it was people. I think I did my first meet and greet. I got flown out to Toronto. It was a first meetup that I did, and I pulled up to the venue, and there was like thousands of people waiting in line outside of the thing. And I was like, dang, I'm gonna be waiting in line for so long outside. It's so hot. So I started going to go to the line to line up to go inside, and then the line like morphed out of the line and started
Wow.
kind of like surrounding me. And that was like my first ever experience that, oh wow, these are like real people that are watching the stuff. And
That's crazy. You know, bro, I think that one of the most impactful times I had with you, kind of not similar, but similar, was when we went to South Central, and we went to that high school. And I remember there was kids that were lining up. And this was, bro, we were in the hood, man. We were in South Central. And there was kids lining up that your videos had touched their lives, man. And like, man, it's like literally like there's no barrier I think that media is able to reach. I think it's pretty crazy.
No, it is nuts. It really is nuts. And I feel like that is always, I don't know, I feel like that's always the most nuts. Like one of your videos impacts them in some way is always kind of mind blowing to me, because it could be like something like a super silly video or something like that. But
yeah,
the fact that it has an impact on somebody is crazy.
That is crazy, man. One of the things that I wanted to ask you here, bro, that my wife wrote in is, how do you handle in the sphere that you're in? Social media is massive, especially now in quarantine, especially where so many people now, that's all they have to do. Yeah. How have you handled both when you step out of a bus and you got all of these people that are coming up to you, you got kind of that fame aspect, but then how on the flip side do you handle criticism, unless you've never had criticism at all in social media?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important. That was something I was talking to actually with another friend of mine yesterday. She's big on social media as well, and she's like going through that right now. But I think I'm thankful. I'm super like one of the things I'm most thankful about being on social media is you get an enormous amount of opinions flooded at you instantly, and you have to learn like really quick to disassociate, because everybody does it. Like you start seeing like what do people think about me, and that's kind of like how you set your identity, is like how people respond to you, or like what is that person thinking about me. But on social media, you just get flooded with people's opinions, so you have to detach yourself, or like your self-worth, from like what people are thinking of you really quick, because otherwise like you're gonna go up and down. Like if a bunch of people are hating on you, then you're gonna feel like awful. If a bunch of people are like telling you you're like the greatest thing ever, then you're gonna have like an unrealistic perspective of reality. So I feel like early on, I'm like, one of the things I'm most thankful for is that kind of forced me to, I mean, like, you don't completely separate, but like to a sense, like separate my self-worth from what other people are thinking about me. And I don't know, that's definitely been a big help for me.
Yeah, was it always natural for you to do that? Like, hey, I'm just gonna, because I mean, even you've probably posted up something, you've had people that have, tons of people like it, then you always got that one person that, they maybe had a bad day, they want to let you know about their bad day, know. So how have you kind of navigated? Like, was it natural for you to do that?
Definitely not natural. I don't think it's natural for anybody, because like when you're young, it's like natural instinct to see what people are thinking about you, so that you can that's the only way that you really know like who you are at first. You're like, oh, this person thinks I'm dope, or like this person thinks I suck at this, then I must suck at this, and so you like naturally off the bat, that's how you form your identity early on. But then when I started realizing that people just reflect whatever you think about yourself, like they just reflect your insecurities or like your confidence.
Wow.
Then I was like, because I remember actually, I think like a big part of it too was like I had crazy social anxiety too, because I'd always be just worrying about like what people were thinking and whatnot. And I started going into grocery stores, and I feel like at grocery stores, the person working there usually like has to be nice to you, because I don't know, or like restaurants, they like are like forced to be nice to you. So it was like a good practice for me to start talking to people. And at first I would always think like, oh, this grocery store person just has like a opinion of me. Like they think I'm too young or like stupid or like whatever it was. Which just like some random thoughts would play in my mind, and then because of that, I would start looking for the like affirmation of them thinking that, and it would end up in my reality anyways that would happen. But then when I switch it over and saw like, hey, if I smile and ask that person about their day, or like if I
Yeah.
reflect like energy, that then they just reflect that back, and so it started becoming a goal of mine to like, especially with people who are having a bad day, like if I
Wow.
could, turn that around, then I don't know, I love that.
So good, man. Do you have you ever had like a crazy story of something you've posted, maybe saving someone's life, or someone who you thought, man, this person was going to commit suicide, or this person was, man, they were just going through something really hard, and something I posted, something I said, a song that I sung, like, man, I really got to see a testimony of that really touched their life.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of nuts. My I used to get, I don't know, it's kind of crazy because the social media is like a weird, it's a different form of entertainment. It's not weird, it's cool. It's not like TV or something where you see like a movie character and you're watching that, or like a somebody disconnected from you and it's just entertainment. Especially not for my stuff, you develop like a relationship with your audience. Like you start getting to know that, I don't know, especially if they're watching you every day, you start getting really close with your audience. And so people, you just develop kind of, I guess, more of a trust um, with your audience and then them with you. And so at one point, I would say 80% of my emails I would get, and I would get thousands of emails a day of, like nuts. People would be just really vulnerable with their stories about, like, literally 80% of them were either suicide or self-harm, and how like a small piece of content could create an impact on their life. And that kind of blew me away because you never, like, at first you never create content, especially like silly, dumb stuff. You never think it's really gonna have any type of impact on somebody, let alone um,
Yeah.
that. But yeah, kind of wild, especially at, I don't know, yeah, pretty nuts.
Yeah. And in this like social space, have you yourself ever experienced like feeling isolated, or you yourself experienced like, man, I got millions of followers, but man, sometimes it feels lonely? Has that ever happened with you? Or
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think especially when I was in, that's a big reason I had to take a break for a bit. It's because you get lost. When I was like really creating every day for like every platform and stuff, and that's all I was doing. Um, it becomes hard to find people you can trust because you don't know
wow.
who, like, and you find it out more like when I took a break, when I took a hiatus, the people that stuck around and like who didn't. But it does become difficult because if people are nice to you as long as they can benefit from you in some way or another. Um, uh, yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's like you're the most connected ever because you have access to
Yeah.
everybody around the world, but then you
Yeah.
lack actual intimate connection with people, or like a limited number of people you can actually trust with anything deeper than, I don't know, so far.
Yeah. I think it's crazy, bro. They've done like studies and statistics of today's culture, just showing how this generation feels the most connected, yet it's the most lonely at the same time. You know what I mean? I mean, this is incredible, but I think nothing's like human interaction,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think now you realize that, especially with this quarantine thing, it's like we're all connecting on Zoom and stuff like that, which I'm thankful for. But uh, but yeah, there's something about having human contact with people and like being there with somebody.
Yeah. Bro, I'll never forget one of the things that story you told me was when, I don't know, it was, I think it might have been when you took a break from social media, how you said you went outside and you sat and you stared at trees for some time
Yeah,
because you were just amazed at God's creation. So what, I
yeah.
mean, could you maybe just recap that? Like, what was it like when you took a break from being on the screen constantly to just kind of stepping away? What was that like for you?
Nuts. My world shifted because I went from, like I was on the computer. I was like a computer nerd for like, since the early on days. So I didn't really spend a lot of time outside or like especially like looking at trees. Cause I'm like, what the heck is
Yeah.
a tree? It's mad boring. and and there's so much to do online on my computer and stuff like that. So I just didn't really, I don't know, I just consumed a bunch of content or creating and whatnot. But at a point, it was like at a point in my life where I was like mad stressed all the time, and I've been living in stress for like every day of my life, all day. And I went out and sat out in nature for a little bit, and I just sat there, and I realized, like, looked around, and there's so much going on. Like the birds were chirping, there's like bugs over here, and like a ton of stuff going on. But it wasn't stressful. It was like peaceful. I was like, that's weird. Why is it that like when I'm inside and there's like all this stuff happening, I'm feeling stressed, but when I'm outside and there's like all this stuff happening, it's like peaceful. And I was like, outside in like there's like a natural harmony that everything there's a lot going on, but everything flows perfectly. It's all within like it's this perfect harmony. And I I don't know. I have a theory that humans are the only thing that can take something outside of that harmony. Like because everything flows. You take humans out of the equation of anything, and everything flows. It's like a perfect math. It all flows in like perfect harmony. But humans are the only thing that can like adjust that harmony or take something outside of like that natural frequency. Um, but yeah, yeah.
That's wild, man. Now I know maybe people have been able to know this about you, maybe they haven't. But what was the first? Or let me rephrase. Let me think of how to phrase this question. When did you first encounter Jesus, man? Because I know Jesus has been a huge equation, part of the equation of your life that maybe people they know or maybe they don't know. Like, when did you first encounter Jesus?
Yeah. I grew up in I grew up in a Christian home, and my like we went to church a bunch, and like my family would take me to church, but it was more so like a theory back then. I'd go to church and I used to be mad bored in church and I'd just be sitting there, man, like can I go home? And then I was just bored, like, and then we'd be like forced to do like Bible studies and stuff like that, and I just didn't really enjoy it. And so, but I got introduced to like to religion through like my family and whatnot. And then I remember, but when I was young, I would always like, I would kind of nuts actually. Like like I started taking this in, but when I was young, I started praying every night. Like I made it a habit. I would like go in my room and just start praying about the same things. I just had the same list of things, and they were all like selfish things mostly. Some of them weren't. They were like praying for like, but I had a list I prayed for every day. And what's nuts is like that list, every one of them has come true, which is crazy. But like, every one of those came true. But I did that when I was really young, and then I kind of like swayed away from um, it for a little bit. But I started like because I always live in the future as a kid, and so I started thinking like, what's the end? Like what's the ultimate future? What would it look like at the end of my life where I'd be like happy?
Wow.
I'd be like, and so I started thinking. I was like, well, I got to fulfill the reason I'm here. Like, why was obviously this place is nuts. There's got to be this everything's so fine detailed and like perfectly placed. There's got to be a reason for it, and what is it? Like, I want to figure that out. And so I started praying like, hey, yo, God, like if you're there, like just use me for like the reason I'm here.
Wow.
And I was like 11 then, and I was like, I remember I was in my room, and I got this like, like I don't know, describe it as a voice or like I don't know,
Yeah.
saying, I want you to do entertainment. And I was at that point, that was the last thing I wanted to do ever, because I was super shy, and I hated, like I couldn't even talk to people. I had my friend talk for me, and I was like, the last thing I wanted to do was entertainment, and so I like resisted that, like pretended it wasn't real.
Crazy, man.
And then I just kept resisting that. And then another thing is like I hated the thought that somebody has something that somebody else didn't. And like my perspective of entertainers were like these people that had a bunch of stuff that other people didn't or whatever. I just didn't really vibe with it, and so I just really avoided that. And then that same voice came back to me again saying like, no, it's like a responsibility. Like if you want to be used for like while you're here, then I want you to do entertainment. And I was like, okay, all right, fine, like whatever. I don't know how that looks. And then right after that, literally, I started my YouTube channel, and then like right after that, we did that for a bit, and then Vine took off, and within a month, uh, I gained 1 million followers on Vine. I think that's when that happened.
Wow.
Right after that, 1 million on Facebook, and then I had something go viral with like 200 million views on Facebook, and then my whole life shifted within a month period of time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
You know what I appreciate about you, man. I've been following Jesus for going on 13 years. I was an atheist. I got radically saved, and I've met a lot of Christians, a lot of pastors, and I feel like sometimes when you get caught up in that world, you disconnect with the real pain of other people. You disconnect, with the emotions of people. You disconnect sometimes even with, how you used to struggle. You forget that's sometimes people struggles. And what I appreciate about you, man, is you've always been one of the most down to earth, incredible dudes I've ever met. You love God, but you live your faith out so simple, man. It's like this simple faith that you walk out. And it's so crazy because you're not getting up on a pulpit on a Sunday and you're like preaching a message at people, yelling at them, but you're simply creating content that ultimately your creator gave you. And it's like through that, man, I don't know, man, I've been able just to kind of watch like what God's done with your life, and it's powerful. And it's not like you're perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm pretty sure you've had struggles in your walk with God. Yes,
100%.
no.
100%. Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things now is like my goal now is just to be as honest as possible with like, because so much you can know, and then like the difference between being able to act on that is like it's a journey, but it's like an everyday journey, honestly. But yeah, I remember like that's what happened. Like when things started taking off, I we moved to LA, and my life shifted immediately.
Yeah.
Where like the next 6 years became I had zero training, and I just immediately, I was like a young kid, and I got access to more money than I could spend, and like not the greatest influences. And then I was in a space with like where my reality was kind of warped. And for a period of time, I definitely did get pretty like lost in terms of, like there's a moment where I went like probably years without being sober for like a day. And,
Wow.
And yeah, I don't know. I just had zero way to really gauge life. So, it was like an up, and I feel like during that process, which was nuts, like a bunch of crazy stuff would happen, and I would just feel like, and then randomly like God would do something and like fix you, like, yo, I'm still here. What's up? Like,
Yeah.
help or whatever. And I'm like, and I would never go to him until like everything would crash, and then I'll be like, okay, yo, God, what's up? Like,
Yeah.
I have like nothing else here that can actually like help me. So I'm like, okay, can you help me out here a little bit? And then he would like do something crazy in my life again and show himself again, and then I would go off again and just like come on and be like trying to live my life, and then that kept happening over and over. Within between like just some crazy experiences that were undescribable. And then it got to a point where like I had to take a break from everything just to find, I don't know, just have some silence that I could actually like hear. Actually, you know what? I found that was what was nuts actually. Like during the time when we'd met at such a crazy time, because the time that I quit everything, like I literally just quit everything. I was like, I'm getting rid of all my money. I'm getting rid of everything, like shutting everything down. And I was so depressed too. But then I was right after I quit, I just got rid of my house in Calabasas, and my sister or my mom told me about a conference to go to.
Yeah, I remember.
And I was like, yo, I don't really like, what's up, mom? Like, I'm trying to chill, whatever. and she really wanted me to go, and I wasn't gonna go, but my little sister really wanted to go, and then my little sister like was like, Christian, can you please go with me to this conference? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with my little sister because she's like, like asking me over and over. So I went to that conference, and I think your guys' One Voice conference in LA.
Yeah.
And I was like literally right after I quit everything, and I got like crazy impacted there, like just nuts, and I just experienced things that like I really just couldn't describe at all. And I was like, what in the world is this? And one of the messages in the thing was to let go of everything. Is like just literally to let go of everything.
Wow.
And so I spent 4 months. Oh, and then there also I was like, I want to meet that guy. I saw you talking because you're related to the audience. I was like, I want to meet that guy, but I didn't say anything. And then we ended up connecting after and going for lunch because I think Manny reached out to me after.
Yeah, he did.
Like a couple days after. But I spent 4 months after that conference literally letting go of everything, like one by one, like letting go of the need for money, letting go of like the need for like any type of audience, like it was just like one over the other. And I started developing like this crazy relationship with God during that time period. There's just like hugely impacting for me. And that's when my memory started coming back. Like because as a kid, I had like, I could visualize, like if I saw something, I could draw it out for you perfect in every, like a test. If I saw it once, I'd remember it for life. And
wow.
My memory used to be just instant like exact recall. And I kind of lost that for a bit because I didn't apply it. But then during that experience with like getting to know God again, my memory came back again, and then I started studying like light and everything I was learning in like quantum physics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I started seeing in the Bible text, because I went through I forgot that I went through like a 2-year journey when I was lost and everything like that. I went through like a 2-year journey just trying to figure out like what is life, but I wanted to like really learn what it was. So I dove deep into like science for a bit, and like psychology, neuroscience, quantum physics, biology, just to get as much like any type of information on the world as possible. I want to find like patterns, study with like a bunch of people, and then people start saying Bible verses, like verses that applied with like the science that I was learning. I was like, no way, that's in there. From and some of the Bible scriptures, the oldest documented text that we have. And so I was like, the fact that that's in there from that long ago is nuts. I'm going to look into this again, because I stopped reading the Bible for a bit. And I was like, the fact that's in there, I was like, that's crazy. And so I started like, reading. I was like, a lot of this science coming out now was like written about like this long ago. That's insane. And so I went on a journey as well, down like text. And
it's wild, man. What would you, let me ask you this, because you touched on it a little bit. What would you tell people that are watching that will say, man, like if I got more money, if I get more fame, if I get more cars, if I get all, like, then I'm gonna be happy. Like then everything's gonna be good. Like, what would you tell those people that are seeking their happiness in what they could possess, or their money, or their accounts, or what advice would you give people watching right now?
It's really hard, because all I can say is like my story, because I know that if back then somebody told me, like, as much as I've heard that and said like money won't make you happy, or like freaking you can know that, but it's like one of those things where there's always this door that if you haven't been able to get in there your whole life, and you're always going to wonder what's in there. And even if people are in there and like, yo, it wasn't that cool, it's not worth it, like whatever, you're always going to want to know like what's behind that door,
Yeah.
And but I will say, for me, from my experience, is like, yeah, I literally had a checklist of like I remember I used to do training every morning. I would do training with my vocal trainer when we were preparing for tour. And one morning, it was New Year's, and it was like 5 in the morning. We're outside. I just got this new house, last house allowed to be built, on the hill right beside the Jackson Mansion, and probably was nuts. And I was sitting out there looking out on the view with my trainer, and he was like, "Yo, how was your year?" And I think this was like one of the moments I realized I needed to switch something. But he was like, "How was your year?" dude. And I was like, I didn't do anything. I was so unhappy. And he started listing off some of the things I'd done that year, like nuts things, like more, like surpassing what I would be able to like think, like dream about, you know, at that time that I'd experienced that year. And I didn't remember being in any of it. And I was just probably the most depressed I've ever been in my life. I had more money than I could spend, like, and I was, you know, had everything that I could think about that I wanted, but I was so depressed. Um, and like this journey, when I took my hiatus, I realized like what I was doing was sacrificing things that I got for free internally to try to get something externally.
Wow.
But I realized you can't get like anything out here is just kind of like it's like a theme. Like you can switch the wallpaper on the wall where it looks different, but it's
Yeah.
just a reflection of whatever you're feeling inside, right? So like if you're not, doesn't matter what the wallpaper looks like. Like if I'm unhappy, I'm gonna be unhappy. You know, it doesn't matter if I'm in like a giant mansion or like you're gonna be unhappy. But if you get it good like internally, then that just reflects itself externally. So yeah, it's great to be like, you know, money's a great tool. I'll never say like money's bad. Money's a great tool, but it's a tool that just enhances who you internally are. And at that point, I hadn't worked on myself internally, so it was just enhancing
Yeah.
a lot of the negative stuff I hadn't worked on. Um,
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, one of my, which you know, this one of my good friends is Nick Wojcik. He has no arms and legs, and
yeah,
it's
he's awesome.
crazy because you look at his life, and he just tells stories of what it was like growing up like that. And he actually tried to commit suicide. He goes into a pool and just going to drown himself. And while he's in this pool, he hears his voice speak to him, very similar, and says, "Hey, I have a plan for your life." And Nick, he obviously has no arms and legs, but he could still swim up. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Swims up, man. And one of the first guys, this was when he was in high school. One of the first guys he ever encounters that changes his life isn't a big preacher. He's not a pastor. It's his janitor. And his janitor comes up to him at school and says, "Hey, man, one day you're going to speak around the world." And Nick's in high school. He's getting bullied by everybody. Talk about being bullied. This guy has no arms and legs. His
yeah,
bullying level's probably here. You know, everyone's
yeah,
just clowning on nonstop. And Nick looks at the janitor. He's like, "Who's gonna listen to me? I have no arms and legs." Like, you know. And so he ends up going to speak for the first time at his Bible club at his high school. And there's like two kids in there. One of them starts crying, and he knows instantly, "I'm called to this."
yeah,
And I think as of right now, Nick has preached this over 700 million. 2 point something billion have seen his videos. He's been on Oprah. He's been a major voice. But I feel like, you know, in his early years, it's almost like the devil, man, knew his potential and wanted to smash him down in those early years, you know, with all this stuff. Well, I guess, like, what would you say to people that in their early stage right now, maybe they're struggling with who they are, their identity, you know, maybe they're not like Nick, they have their limbs. But what would you tell people that, like, man, they're struggling inwardly, with insecurities, with fears, with things that they're going through? What advice would you give to them?
yeah. Well, and this is something actually I've been thinking about a lot recently as well, because it you know, it's like it never goes away. Those things, like a garden, the weeds, they always come up, right? Like you get your thoughts, you get 60,000 thoughts a day. There's suggestions that you get, and a lot of those are negative. And if you choose to believe them, those can, you know, take a toll
Wow.
on who you believe you are. But something that, like, I practiced a lot of like self-improvement before, where I was like trying to get in habits and rituals and trying to reprogram my brain, and I just kept like over and over. I just keep going back to like the same um, the same exact struggles. Um, but something that has helped me massively is when you take it out of like your hands, your responsibility. Like, um, I believe like I believe the character of God is absolute unconditional love, absolute unconditional peace, absolute unconditional joy. Uh, absolute abundance, and those are characteristics of God that, for anything to exist, there has to be an opposite, right? And what's the opposite
Yeah.
of peace is anxiety, or what's the opposite of love? What's the opposite of joy?
Yeah. It's
Depression.
good.
And so when you separate yourself from those characteristics, then there's like temporary feelings you can get from like external triggers, but you always go back to the same place. You got to get yourself rooted to where those characteristics live, and if I'm not like rooted and I'm trying to like always then I just feel lost. So I think one of the biggest things too for me, like one of the things that changed my life too, is gratitude. Like being thankful. If I say anything, like gratitude helped me. I used to every day especially when I was going through enormous depression. Every day I'd wake up and I made it a habit of mine to list out just like 3 things that I could be thankful for. And they could be like little things, but like just at least try to think of like 3 things I was thankful for. And it reshaped my thinking to like look at, instead of, because all day I was just looking, I was like, okay, I have those things, I'm used to that. And so my brain would just automatically look for things that sucked or that I hated or like they were about anything. And then if you're looking for those, that's what your reality becomes, right? Because that's what you're seeing. So that's what your physical reality becomes, because you can't look at everything at once. You can only look at like a very small portion. And if you're looking for the things that suck, then your life sucks. But if I, just by like doing 3 things a day, and now I do more than that, but like making a physical practice to look for things that you have to be thankful for, and just on the like the basic sense, you just living in gratitude, then that's what your brain automatically starts noticing more, and then your life becomes more of things that you're thankful for.
So good.
And then like on a deeper sense, obviously, like I study like your belief systems are really powerful, especially you want to get it rooted not just in your mind, because the mind just like reflects your beliefs, but if you can get your identity beliefs down, then it's huge.
It's 2 scriptures come to my mind, man. One is Bible says that God is enthroned on the praises of his people. And I think what you said about gratitude, I just actually preached this Monday on the difference between thankfulness, being thankful and being grateful. And thankfulness is an inward satisfaction. So maybe you give me something, I'm thankful for that inwardly. Gratitude is where my inward satisfaction is expressed outwardly.
Okay.
And so, a lot of people don't realize, man, I can be thankful but not grateful. And gratefulness is contagious. Gratefulness can't be contained. Grateful people are powerful people. They're people that aren't easily knocked down. And it's interesting. The Bible says that God inhabits, or he is enthroned on the praises of his people. And I love what Bill Johnson says. He says, if he's enthroned on the praises of his people, then who's enthroned on your complaints? You know what I mean? Like you said, opposites. If God's enthroned on your thankfulness, your gratitude, your praise, then who do we enthrone in our complaints, in our bitterness, in our unforgiveness?
Very true.
It's crazy, man. Hearing that, man, is so powerful, because I think people, especially in this country, we're quarantined and we're locked in. But I mean, we're locked into our air-conditioned homes. We're locked in most of us, with our PlayStations, our whatever, all the stuff that we have. And I was listening to TD Jakes the other day with my wife, and he was saying, like, we're not even going through, like, compared to other parts of the world, the suffering that they go through. We're just experiencing instant change of lifestyle.
Yeah.
But the suffering of someone in another country is a lot different than, I guess, what we suffer here. And I just think there's so much to be grateful for,
100%. You can always find something to be grateful for, like, even, you talk about Nick, like Nick's an incredible character. What a lot of people consider just, they don't even think about having your limbs. You just have them, but even Nick, all the incredible things he's been able to do and people he's been able to impact, and, you always have something there's always something you can find to be thankful for. And even more so, even like something I found too is gratitude is, and I like how you said that, it's like, instead of like interns putting it out, because the things that you speak out of like, obviously there's like faith, but like when you pray or like speak or speak out things of gratitude, it's as if they already were, you know, versus like I feel like a lot of people,
Hmm.
especially the Christian community, they like pray and they're like asking for something, or like they like
Yeah.
out of like this insecurity that's not going to happen. But like especially if it's something that's already been said to be like promised to you or something like that, like promised
Yeah.
help, from you know whatever. Uh, Speaking out of gratitude is under the assumption or under the perspective that's already been given to you or done. So instead of like trying to, you know, it's I don't know, that in itself has been pretty powerful for me. Um,
Yeah. That's so good, man. You know, I actually did a while back. I did I'm looking for it real quick. I did a message on the 7 types of praise in the Bible, and people actually don't realize that, you know, people praise whether they know it or not.
yeah,
Whether you praise God, that's a whole nother discussion for another time. When
yeah,
you go to a football game, people are gonna praise. They're gonna praise the team they want. You know what I mean? You find $100, you gonna praise. You know, you're gonna go crazy.
yeah,
But the Bible, there's actually the word praise. There's 7 different types of praise in the Bible, and what you're talking about. There's actually a praise called Todah, and this is a praise that where you give God thanks for things that you don't yet have.
yeah. Dang.
And so what you're saying, even like when you speak it out, there's power in your words. Bible says to renew your mind. Bible says there's power. The power of life and death is in your tongue. Everything you're saying, bro, is absolutely 100% true. You know what I mean? And it's like us, even now, like, I feel like, yeah, it's so easy for me to thank God when everything's going great and money's coming in. But am I going to continue to thank God when the whole economy's unstable? You
Yeah.
know, am I going to continue to thank God? I mean, my wife's about to give birth, bro, in 2 weeks to our son.
Congratulations. It's
Thanks,
crazy.
man. It's going to be crazy. I'm like, what a crazy time for him to be born.
Yeah.
But am I going to be able to thank God now like I did when everything was good? You know? And so I don't even know, people that are watching, I'd love if you could just throw on, as we're going to get ready to close out, I'd love if you could just throw on what you're grateful for.
I
I
love
know
it.
I've been seeing different people posting, Chris, just how you're, I guess you've talked about in the past, just things to be grateful for on your social media. But even if you guys just want to throw out on the comments below, just something you're grateful for. Because I mean, I think that's so powerful, bro. That's so powerful, especially in today's culture that's so negative, you know?
Yeah.
So,
100%. Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that's, for me anyways, been a massive, massive impact on my life and my state of mind as well.
yeah.
Huge.
And bro, as mean we're about to finish, man. I just, it was your birthday, right?
Yeah, it was a couple days ago. Yeah,
A
like
couple
3 days
days
ago.
ago was your birthday. You are 24 years old.
Yeah, 24. Yeah,
And
crazy.
what are you expecting for this year as a 24-year-old man? I know this is, you probably never thought you'd celebrate your birthday in quarantine. Probably wasn't your part of your plan, but
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't the plan, but you know, I'm thankful that I have like my family with me here in LA that I can spend it with and like people around me. So yeah.
yeah. What are you expecting for this year? What are you believing God's gonna do this year, man?
Uh I'm expecting for I'm expecting for some big shifts. I'm expecting for some big shifts in people because big changes happen in times of a lot of pain where people like because you can get distracted in routine of life and like
Yeah,
think you know but like when you're under a lot of pain or a lot of stress or something big happens then you look for like the distraction's gone and you look for a shift on things that maybe you've been wanting to be distracted from, and for me even that's like true. uh and so this year I would love to really dive into like identity. I think like who I am and like what I was made for, and because I think the more you dive into that, then or the closer you get to that, that's what's going to end up having impact on other people instead of me like telling people what you know like do this and do that or whatever. It's like you
yeah,
reflect off um, who you are, you know.
yeah.
So just for me, it's just yeah, I really want to start I don't know, building my relationship with God this year. I want to travel once this quarantine thing's over. I gotta freaking travel. I'd love to.
Where do you want to go? Give me top 5 places you want to go, bro.
I want to go to freaking Turks and Caicos, Greece. I would love to go to.
Greece, come on.
Yeah, Brazil would be nuts. I've never been to Brazil. And then New Zealand, and one probably Iceland. I would love to go to Iceland.
That's dope, man. And you got to come to my house, bro. We just
Yeah.
moved.
Oh yeah, congratulations! I guess it's a new spot.
Yeah, bro. We just got a home, man. It's been a dream of ours. So crazy. Well, Chris, man, I love you so much, bro, and I'm so thankful I got to meet you a couple years back at a veggie grill. Where I think you took about 2 hours to eat that macaroni and cheese, bro. I'll never forget that. I felt, bro, your mac and cheese was like that big. And we were just talking. I felt bad too. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be all cold.
Yeah.
But man, bro, thank you for your time, man. I honor you. I honor your family. You have incredible parents, bro. Your mom always texts me and my wife just different things that God's speaking to her, and man, we love your family, bro. Seriously, you, Kirsten Crawford, Charisma, man, we love your parents, and so thank you so much for jumping on this, man. We really appreciate it.
Hey, we love you too, man. You guys are family. You know, like you guys have made an enormous impact on my life, so I appreciate it. And thank you for having me too on the live. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, bro. I'll FaceTime you after when I'm inside with my wife and your sis, bro.
Sounds good.
So, all right, bro. Love you, man.
I love you, bro.
I will see you, bro.